offerings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Elder Mikhail, can you open us up in prayer, please?
Heavenly Father Yahweh, most holy and true covenant Elohim, of Abraham, Meshach, and Yaakov, righteous Father, give you thanks and praise, Father Yahweh, for allowing us, Father Yahweh, to come together, Father Yahweh, to hear your holy and mighty word, Father, to worship you, because you are righteous, Father Yahweh, and we need to learn your holy and mighty word, Father Yahweh. Give you thanks and praise, Father, for allowing your word to come to us, Father Yahweh. Allow us, Father, to be taught, Father Yahweh, by you, Father Yahweh. We ask, Father, that your word embed itself in our hearts and our minds, Father. That we understand your word, Father Yahweh. That you allow us to be doers of your word, Father Yahweh. Because, Father, we know, Father Yahweh, doing your mighty will, Father, is holy and true. And we need to understand, Father Yahweh, how to repent for the things that we do, Father, that's not pleasing unto you, Father, that's wrong. So when we come into your presence, Father Yahweh, that we may hear your mighty word, Father Yahweh. So we ask, Father Yahweh, to keep our hearts soft and malleable, Father, for our hearts can hear your mighty word, Father Yahweh. Because having a hard heart, Father, does not allow us, Father, to do your mighty will. So we ask, Father Yahweh, because you are righteous and you are a righteous judge, Father Yahweh, to touch our hearts, Father Yahweh, so that we do your will. So Heavenly Father, we ask, Father, that your word be spoken here through the mouths of our brothers, Father Yahweh. That we touch, Father, by your Spirit, Father Yahweh, to speak and understand your word, Father Yahweh, that your word may go across to the four corners of the world, Father Yahweh, and touch, Father, those, Father, who you want to touch, Father Yahweh, that could follow your word, Father Yahweh, that will follow your word, Father Yahweh. And we give you thanks and praise, Father, for giving this opportunity, Father Yahweh, so we can learn about your love, because your word is your love. And we give thanks and praise, Father Yahweh, in Yeshua's holy mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
We're going to get a receiver again today. All right, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah. I'm my brother Yonatan Yasharah. Shabbat Shalom.
And the title of today's Shabbat study is How to Calculate the Hebrew Months and Years. We just went over Bible study. We went over calculating the holy days, and we determined all the new months based upon this system here, this ancient calendar system that we were given in the ancient writings, but we never went over specifically how we come to those calculations of the months. We just followed the pattern, and we just assumed that that pattern was right. In following that pattern, we were able to determine the Rosh Hodeshes, the new months, for throughout 2018, all the way going into Abib, the first day of the year. But again, we didn't go over where we got that from. But the purpose of that previous class, which you should definitely go check out, it's on the website, it's on the Facebook page, it's on YouTube, where you can learn how we calculate based upon Leviticus 23, Yahweh's Moadim, his set-apart days, his holy days. Now, this class is going to focus more specifically on how do we know that the months are calculated this way, and how do we know when the year starts, how many days are in a year, and how we can use the heavenly tablets, the sun, moon, and the stars to determine that, to make sure that we have a second witness to how we're coming up with our months and our seasons and our years, so that when we are calculating the holy days, we know for sure that we're following the proper system and not just following what somebody told us. So we're going to get into Yobelum, Jubilees, just to get an understanding of the year. We're going to go back into Torah a little bit, and we're going to go over some of the good news, some of the letters, and then we're going to end in Enoch and the Sefer writings, and we're going to break this down, how we calculate. We have a few graphics that you would need to see these graphics that helps you a little bit better. Usually television where we can display everything, but we don't have that set up here yet. So if anybody would like a copy of the graphics that we're going to, I guess, try to show you a little bit to explain, then you can send us an email and we'll send you those graphics. Or maybe we'll just post it up on the website, Facebook or whatever, so that you can get access to that. Matter of fact, I'll probably go post that during the class so you can see it. So we're going to open up first and Yobelum, Jubilees. But before we get into that, I want to say, praise Yah to all the brothers and sisters, during this time that have made the sacrifice, have sacrificed themselves in their lives by choosing to sanctify yourselves, choosing to put the Most High first in your life, despite the fact that people want to separate from you. Family members look at you funny because you're not carrying the same pagan practices you used to. And there's a lot of difficulty during this time of year because we were raised in this culture. We were raised in a Christmas and New Year's and Halloween and all these pagantries that we didn't even know we were dealing with pagantry. We just did it because that's the way we were brought up and that's what the world did. But as you become a new body and you are regenerating, you are now consciously taking your life back and saying, I'm going to worship the Most High, and I'm not going to do those things that are going to put a flame of smoke up the nostrils of the Most High. So we know better, so we do better. And I know it gets hard, I know it gets difficult, and when you find yourself in these times and it gets difficult, cleave on to your brothers and sisters that are going through the same thing. That's your family, that's your spiritual family. That's where you're going to get your strength. Keep your mind grounded in the Most High and grounded in this book. And those things that you can't get in your book that are coming from the world, go back to your book and reconfirm to yourself why you are not taking part in these things, to give yourself strength. And if you fall short in some kind of manner, don't beat yourself up. Understand that, okay, this is a war. This is a battle going on where the adversary is trying to sift your life. And as long as you don't quit and you endure and you say, okay, I made a mistake, I might have did this or I might have did that, then pick yourself up. Try better. Repent, restore, go to your Father and do better the next time. And that's all we can do. And that is the same cycle and process that we have to follow from now all the way until we leave this vessel that we're in right now, which is this body, this carnal body that we have. So we're going to open up in Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 6. the Book of Jubilees, which is in a Sefer writing. And again, if you do not have access to any of these writings, these ancient Hebrew writings that we get into from time to time, you can always go to IsraeliteGathering.com and you can get free access to either download the whole Bible or resource, or you can do it online. All right, so we're going into the Book of Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 6, and we're going to read the verses 30 through 38. And this is going to give us our year, so we know exactly how long our year is.
Yobelum, Jubilees, chapter 6, verses 30 to 38. And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets, and there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. And command you, the children of Yasharal, that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast.
All right, so this is ordained in the heavenly tablets. What does that mean by ordained in the heavenly tablets? That means it's in the sky. It's in the heavens. You can look in the heavens and you're going to see 12 months. You're going to see 52 weeks. And you're going to see 364 days in the year. So if you're taking notes, that's what you want to write down. This is what was taken away from the Bible. They didn't want to put these books into the Bible because it gives you the specific year of the Most High. 364 days in a year, which is going to divide evenly into 52 weeks of 7-day weeks. And it's going to give you 12 months. And those 12 months are going to be divided into 4 seasons, with each season being 91 days. So this is the formula, and it says that we must keep this exactly 364 days every year as to not disturb our feast days. Because if we add days or remove days, or we add a leap year or an Adar 2 or a 13th month or whatever the crap that these heathens came up with, you're going to disturb your feast days. And one of the most important things that the Most High established with us, and Yahshua confirmed that in the perfect prayer, he said, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven, as it is in the skies. The skies has it a certain way, let it be done on earth the same way. The third heaven with the Most High and where the angels are, in the second heaven or wherever they're at, it is being done the same way with Yah as it should be done here on earth, because we are a model of that. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 33. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Yasharal will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new months and seasons and Shabbats, and they will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto you. And it is not of my own devising, for the book is written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, and after their error and after their ignorance.
So we were given the true calendar system, and we were taught in the skies how to have a second witness of how it was set up. And it is told, listen, if you mess this up, you are going to have the years disturbed. You're gonna be doing the feasts according to the Gentiles. The Gentiles are keeping the winter solstice. They're keeping Saturnalia. Because they worship the sun. They're saying that this is the longest day of the year. the longest night of the year, which means the next day the sun is going to grow a little bit. So that's the birth of the sun. The birth of the sun is what they're worshiping. So every day from that day forward, the day is going to get longer. So that's why they're doing that, and they're having their feasts according to that, because they are taking one of the witnesses and worshiping that. So they're doing that in their ignorance because the Most High has not shown himself, not shown his character to them, has not brought them to him, has not given them their laws, statutes, and judgments the way that he has come to us and personally given it to us and personally sent his servants, the prophets, and his messengers, the angel, the Malachim. So he's saying, you know better. So you shouldn't be doing after what these Gentiles do. They're doing it in their ignorance. Once we know this and we do this, it's not doing it in our ignorance anymore. This is willful disrespect to the Most High. Willful, I don't give a F about the Most High, is what we are doing when we know this and we decide we are going to do that. So praise Yah for folks that know better, and now they're choosing to do better. And in this process, it's not going to be perfect in 1 year. It's going to take time for you to learn. And when you make a mistake, this is what this grace period is for. Fix it. Don't beat yourself up. You didn't lose your salvation in a mistake. If you're still alive, that means you can repent and you can change and you can restore and you can pray to the Most High to keep you on a narrow path. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon,
Thank you, sister.
how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the Kodesh with the unclean, and the unclean day with the Kodesh. And they will go wrong as to the months and Shabbats and feasts and jubilees.
All right. So again, it's even talking about right now. For there will be those, and you can see why they removed this out the ancient script. They removed the whole book. Just because a few parts in here, they removed the whole book. And the book is second witness to a lot of the stuff that's being told in Torah. But what they did is remove this whole thing. They called this the little Genesis. This was where Genesis and all that was being compiled from these scriptures. And here it says point blank, if you use the moon and you observe it, it is 10 days too soon. 12 moons will not give you 12 full months. It'll give you 354 days because it comes in 10 days too soon. There's another witness letting you know that it's supposed to be 364, but the moon is going to give you 354. So if you're making your observations based on that, you're going to mess up your Shabbats, your Sabbathons, which are your holy days. You're going to mess up your feast days, and you're going to mess up your Jubilees because you're not going to know what year you're in because you're using that to calculate your year. The moon was supposed to help you figure out what year you are in, not tell you when the year starts or tell you specifically when a month starts. It can help you be a second witness to when a year starts, but it can't by itself tell you that because it's 354 days. Go ahead.
Verse 38. For this reason I command and testify to you that you may testify to them. For after your death, your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to the new months and seasons and Shabbats and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood and all kinds of flesh.
All right. And notice it talks about if you disturb this calendar, you're going to start doing these pagan practices. You're going to start keeping your feast days on unclean days, which is pagan. That's what pagans do. They decided they're going to put their feast days on whatever days they want. And then no coincidence, it also talks about you're going to mess up your Sabbath days. In other words, you can't keep a Sabbath because you're unclean. You're supposed to sanctify the Sabbath. You're supposed to cleanse yourself. This is why we stay away from our wives on that day as far as having sexual relations so that we keep ourselves clean and there's no copulation of seed. And then this is also talking about you're going to eat all matter of unclean foods with blood and all that. And that's what you see happening today and tomorrow. In the next few days, you're going to see folks eating all these pork and hams and ham hocks and and all this unclean food you're going to see people eating where they won't even cook it all the way. Shrimp and all these unclean foods coming together talking about they doing this for Christ. No, Christ, they never told you to do that. Christ took evil spirits and put them in pigs and then sent the pigs into the water to die. Why would he turn around and tell you to go eat those animals that he said, I need a vessel? He's not going to take a piece of crap and put it in a priceless golden bowl where they do, sacrifices or whatever with. He's going to take crap and put it in something that's supposed to carry crap. The garbage disposals, the pigs. So let's go to Devarim chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to look at why it's important for us to know when this year starts and why this calculation is so important as well, because we are also told to observe the new year, the proper new year. We're supposed to observe that new year, not pagan new year with Janus, the two-headed god that they done made up, but the real new year. We are to observe that new year. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read 1 through 6. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read 1 through 6. And I'm going to post on Israelite Gathering on Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com, and look up Israelites, plural with an S, gathering, all one word, to go to the Israelite Gathering page for Facebook page, the Facebook group. And I'm going to post up the visuals that we're going to use shortly when we get into Enoch, because when you have the visuals, it makes it a lot more clear in understanding, and it makes it logical. I'm a visual person. You can read things to me, but I need to see it. If I can't visualize it in my head or I can't see it physically, it makes it hard for me to understand. So we have the documentation and we have the graphics to help you better understand that. So we're going into Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 16, and we're going to read 1 through 6.
Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yahweh your Elohim brought you forth out of Mitzrayim by night.
All right, so the month of Abib is talking about keeping the Passover. And we know when that happened in the first month of the year. We know that we left during unleavened bread. The first day of unleavened bread is when we came out. So we also know that all those things happen in the first Hebrew month. So it's telling us the name of that Hebrew month. The name is Abib. Abib. And Abib is Rosh Hashanah. When Abib starts, that's the first month of the year. Now we're going to look at a few of these definitions so you understand what observe is. The Hebrew word for observe is shamar, spelled S-H-A-M-A-R. And that Strong's number is H8104. If you have a Strong's Concordance or you have that application on your phone, you can read along with the definition. Shamar, H8104. And that's a primitive root properly to hedge about, as with thorns. So that's to hedge, protect, kind of like the garden. In the garden was a hedge of protection. And then it says that is guard, generally to protect, attend to, be aware, be circumspect, take heed, keep, mark, look narrowly at, observe, preserve, regard, reserve, safe, sure, lay wait, watch for. So all of these things are pertaining to paying attention and protect. When you hedge something, you are separating that from everything else. That's why you're hedging and protecting. And this is why we try to stay in the hedge or protection of the Most High, which means we're separating ourselves from where the danger is at. Outside is non-commandment keeping. Inside is commandment keeping. That is your protection. We try to stay, and you have to observe, you have to watch, you have to mark narrowly, you have to wait for, you have to lay and wait for, preserve, regard, reserve. So this month, this beginning of the year, we are to observe that, protect it, hedge, keep, attend to, right? And it says Abib is the name. That's the only name given to a month. There was no other name given by Yahweh or the Most High for a month. Every other month name was given by some man, all the way into these pagan months that we are given now. So Abib is H24. H24. That's A-B-I-B, Abib. And that's from an unused root meaning to be tender, green. That is younger ear of grain. Hence the name of the month, Abib or Nisan. Now they put Nisan in there. That's another name that the Most High gave, a name that the man gave. So why would we give another name to something when the Most High gave us the name already? But that shows you how the heathen operate. Green ears of corn. So this is when things become green. Now we know things don't become green in January. When pagan holiday starts, that doesn't, things don't go green. Things are dead. Things are dying. It's cold. So we know Abib happens in the springtime. Now, nowhere in this Bible does it tell us that we're supposed to start the year when something turns, like, the barley turns green or whatever. That happens, but nowhere in Torah or in ancient writers does it tell us to wait until a crop turns a certain color. It doesn't tell us that. That's just a clue that we're in the right season. Go ahead, brother.
All right. Verse 2. You shall therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim of the flock of the herd in the place where Yahweh shall choose to place his name there.
Excuse me, brother.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to add something right quick.
Hold the phone up there for me.
The only thing I wanted to add to that, if anybody want to go back where it was spoken by Moshe, Exodus chapter 12, and they tell you in verse 1 and 2. And he continues on down what the children of Yashua are supposed to do, because that is the next day in which they're going to be delivered from Israel and Egypt. So he goes over this, about what they're supposed to do with the land and so forth for Passover. So since we're going into a little further, in Devarim, if anyone want to go where Moshe was talking about it, then that's where you need to go.
Right. It's talking about the Passover, and that's when it goes. Take it off mute. Talks about Passover, basically, when it's given instructions of Passover, and that is the second witness to let you know when we came out of Mizraim, the time frame that we came out. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. You shall therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim of the flock and the herd in the place where Yahweh shall choose to place his name there. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, that you may remember the day when you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with you in all your coasts 7 days. Neither shall there anything of the flesh which you sacrificed the first day at even remain all night until the morning. You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, but at the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to place his name in, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that you came forth out of Mitzrayim. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose. And you shall turn in the morning and go unto your tents. 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Yahweh your Elohim. You shall do no work therein. 7 weeks.
I'm reading up to verse 6.
There.
Verse 6. All right. So this is why it's important for us to know when a year starts, not only for calculating all the rest of the holy days, but also according to Torah is telling us point blank, you're supposed to shamar this month, this beginning of the year. You're supposed to make sure that you pay attention and you are waiting and observing and marking and attending and preserving this month. Because it is, if you start just like a clock, if you set a clock and you put your battery in the clock, you got to set the time to the right time for it to consistently give you the right time from that point forward. But if you set your clock to begin with on the wrong time, it's going to always be on the wrong time. It's never going to catch up. When it says a broke clock is right 12 times a day, that's because it's not moving. Twice a day, it's because it's not moving. It's stuck at a specific fixed time, and eventually you're going to hit that time. And that exact minute, twice a day, it's going to be that exact minute. All right, so some of the words that we also went through in that is Hodesh, which we went over on the Bible study, which is the new month, which is H2320, CHODESH. And when you look at this definition, they put new moon in there. Now, nowhere do you see them ever use Hodesh to talk about the specific moon. They never do that, or a moon cycle, or how it moves, or anything. They never use that word. The word Hodesh is only used in months, in calculating holy days, in Yahweh's holy days, or a specific month. So it has absolutely nothing to do with the moon. The root word of Hodesh is not anything to do with the moon. The Hebrew word for moon is Yeriach, and the root word of Yeriach is Yerach, which gives you a lunation. That is the 354 days that they talk about. Now, the word for year is H8141, Shana, spelled SHANAH, H8141. And that is the second form being feminine from 8138, a year, as a whole age, long, old, or year. So Shana is a year. And again, the root word for moon is Yerach. That's H3391. When I talked about Yeriach, the word Yeriach is moon. The root word for Yeriach is Yerach, H3391, spelled YERACH. And that's from an unused root of uncertain signification, a lunation. That is a month, a moon. So a lunation is a lunar month, a completely different word. So it's separating a lunar month from a calendar month. A calendar month is Hodesh, according to the holy calendar. So there is difference. And when you go into the Greek, there's a difference with that as well. You got the word Selene for moon in Greek. But then you got mane for month in Greek. Completely different words. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Yohanan, John, chapter 11. And you're going to see that even Yahshua understood the difference. He knew how to use a proper calendar. He was aware. And he gives little clues. And one statement Yahshua, made to one of the disciples, they asked, why do you talk to us in these parables? Why do you talk to us? Why are you not just coming out plainly and saying certain things? And he said, it was given unto you, you Talmudim, you followers, you disciples. It was given unto you, body of Christ, body of the Mashiach, to know the mysteries. But to these non-believers that are just going to take this information and I don't care, I'm going to still worship the adversary, the devil. Those people, he said, they're not going to understand it. But you are going to understand this. So a lot of things, there's a lot of hidden truths in his statements that he's making, that he's saying in parables. But when you study and you understand the ancient ways, then there's second witnesses being given by Christ, the word. So we're in John chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 1 through 16, and we're going to see Yahshua understood this ancient calendar system that we're about to go into in a little while to prove when these months start. And again, we might be going a little bit fast with things when we go through this, but all of this is going to be recorded. It's going to be available on YouTube and Facebook. Go back to it, go over things, go over the scriptures, go into Jubilees, go into Enoch, go into your Torah, write these things down, try to disprove it, try to immerse yourself in it so you can start to learn how to understand this concept. And before you adopt it and accept it, at least understand how it operates and works first. And then you can try to prove it or disprove it. And you can't disprove the truth. John, Yohanan, chapter 11. And we're going to read verses 1 through 16.
Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus, of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was Mary that which anointed the master with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Master, behold, he whom you love is sick. When Yeshua heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of Yahweh, that the Son of Yahweh might be glorified thereby. Now Yeshua loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Then after that, said he to his disciples, Let us go into Judea again.
All right. So again, he loved the brother, he loved the sister, he loved the families, and he heard that the brother was sick, and he could have went down there at any given moment and did what he needed to do. But he abode there 2 days. He stood there 2 days. Why is he staying there 2 days? Can anybody,
Because he knew why Lazarus was getting sick.
why was he getting sick?
Because he was supposed to manifest some healing.
Right?
So he tarried. And then, of course, it would be like, it would shake everyone's faith. Like, yo, why didn't he leave?
Right.
Knowing that he could have resurrected. But they weren't thinking on those lines yet. So he just waited, let what happened happen.
Exactly. He knew what was going to happen. And then also he's letting people lose faith and belief. And then he's also solidifying what we about to read is going to happen, is going to happen, so that, it's the miracle could be done. Because once he passes, there's no question of that. They like, this dude is gone. His body is left. So when he does the miracle, people are not saying this is magicianry. But there's also something going on in here that you won't really know the answer to this until you read further down into this chapter. There's a reason why he's leaving at a specific time to go to Jerusalem, to go back to Judea. Because, again, we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 16 what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to observe the month of Abib. So we're going to see how this is going to take, in fact, Yeshua keeping the law. He knows what he's doing. He's going to Judea at a specific time for a reason. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Then after that, said he to his disciples, Let us go into Judea again. His disciples say unto him, Master, the Yehudim of late sought to stone you, and go you there again?
All right, so his disciples like, yo, bro, they trying to kill you, man. Stay over here and stay safe. But Yeshua is like, nah, I'm about to do the works of the Most High, because he's getting ready to go deal with Lazarus, and also because he's going to keep the commandments. And we're going to see how he's going to keep the commandments. He's going to go to Judea at a specific time for a reason. And he's not going to allow the threat of death to stop him from keeping the commandments, because he is the example that we're supposed to follow. He is the word in flesh. So the word in flesh cannot contradict itself. The word can't contradict itself. It is the truth, and it cannot be changed. So he is not going to be wavered by a so-called threat of death. And he also knows that, hey, when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I ain't going to be able to deny that. So why should I fumble and not do my works when I don't know when it's my time to go, but when it's my time to go, it's going to happen anyways. You ain't going to avoid that. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Yeshua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbles not, because he sees the light of this world.
All right. So if you understand the ancient calendar system, then this will make sense to you. Now, looking at our system, 12 hours in a day. How long is a day?
They said 24 hours.
A day, if at least modern, is 24 hours. So how is there 12 hours in a day?
Daylight.
So 12 hours daylight. It's got to be daylight. So if it's 12 hours of daylight, was there 12 hours of daylight today? No. We're not seeing 12 hours of daylight. So that means he's talking about a specific time where there's going to be 12 hours of daylight. And the disciples would understand what he's talking about. 12 hours of daylight happens only 2 times in a year. Equinoxes. The spring equinox, which is the last day of the year, and the autumn equinox, which is getting ready to go into your fall. So he's speaking in parables here. He's letting them know, he's reminding them, wait a minute, what happens when there's 12 hours of daytime in this specific season? We know something is about to happen. And you talking about, why am I going to Judea? Pare that back. Observe the month of Abib. Go ahead.
The only time in the year where you get full 12 hours on both, huh?
Well, it's not the only time, because you get those on both equinoxes. Mm-hmm. But you would know that we're not in the other equinox because we're not getting ready to get cold. And how do we know that's not this time? Because he could have been in autumn talking that. Mm-hmm. But we're going to read later, we're going to see he wasn't talking about autumn equinox, because it's going to give you a clue. Go ahead.
Verse 10. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbles, because there is no light in him.
So if you don't know any better, and you in this darkness looking at this pagan calendar thinking January 1st, Happy New Year and all this stuff, you stumbling all over the place because you don't even know what month you're in. Because even in the pagan months, it's called Deci, December. How is that the 12th month? Deci means 10. Nove, November, that's 9. Octa, octagon, like a stop sign, that's 8. Septi, for 7, a septagon. So it don't make no sense. You confused. You stumbling because you walking in the dark. But when you understand the truth, then you're walking in the light. So there's multiple things going on. He's also saying, hey, look, we can travel there at nighttime, so they ain't trying to kill us. But when I'm going to do my works, I'm going to do it in the daytime so everybody can see it. So there's a lot going on in here, but he's talking in a parable so that the average worldly person that don't care nothing about Yahweh's righteousness is going to go right over their head. And those that are trying to learn the Most High, a servant going to come to you and he's going to further explain this to you, so now you know and you can explain it to somebody else. Go ahead.
Verse 11. These things said he, and after that he said unto them, our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Master, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit Yeshua spoke not of death, his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Then said Yeshua unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead.
All right. So it's letting you know that sleep is death. When you are sleeping, that's the cousin of death. You are the closest that you'll ever be to death is when you sleep. And when you are dead, it's akin to sleep. You just unconscious. The only difference is when you dead, you ain't dreaming. You ain't having all them dreams because there's no active brain waves. So you just in a complete unconsciousness, like a sleep without REM, without REMs, without beta waves or delta waves. You without delta waves. Delta waves what causes you to dream. So you just in that suspended animation where your body is alive but there's no brain activity. So that's what death is. That's what hell is. Hell is just unconsciousness, grave. You can't think about the Most High. You can't repent. You can't think about your actions. You can't change your actions. That's what death is. And you're just in a suspended state until you are awakened.
That's right.
And you are awakened for judgment. Or you're awakened to the Most High, to Christ.
Let me just add one thing on that.
Go ahead, Elder.
Glad my brother's bringing out that point, because all I have to say on that, that's why we always talk about, our salvation issues due to the fact that we're supposed to repent. And he stated that if you want to get mercy, get it in the flesh. Get it while you're still alive. Repent. Because if you don't repent, you can't recant from the things that you've done. You cannot feel remorse for the things that you've done. You cannot hear from Yahweh, say, well, okay, I'm going to forgive you for those things. It's not that you won't go through an issue, because you still got to pay for things, but he has mercy upon you. And he said that he would have mercy, but we will have mercy on you.
Right.
So if you don't repent, if you don't say you're sorry, if you don't have it in your heart to truly mean that you're sorry, to change your ways, and what that means, change your ways, then how are you going to receive forgiveness when you're sleeping, you're dead? By the time they call you to wake you up, it's time for judgment. So I want people to think about that. Our brothers and sisters always think about that. We have to repent while we're in the flesh, while we are alive.
Mm-hmm.
While when we sleep, we wake up. It's just a judgment. As it says in Scripture, man is once appointed to die, then the judgment. It's something we all got to think about.
Right. All right. You're going to read that to verse 16.
Verse 15. And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him.
So again, there's the confirmation. I'm glad I wasn't there, that he died. When he died. That way you can believe in the resurrection, in the power that this word has to raise you from the dead. And that is happening this very moment. We are being raised from the dead because we were walking dead. Once we walk in sin and ignorance, we are dead. Because the wages of sin is death. That payment, you've already earned that payment. You have foregone your automatic crown that was given unto you, and you have decided, I want death. And you did the works of death, and you received the payment of death. So you are walking dead. But the power of this word of repentance and righteousness and sanctification and being Kodesh through Yahshua, Yah is salvation, you can be raised from the dead. So because people were so carnal back then, he had to do these miracles in a carnal way to get you to understand, oh, you mean the word in flesh? The word has the power to raise us from the dead? Oh, well, maybe I should focus on trying to be cool with this word, be cool with the Father. That way I can be raised from the dead, because I'm going to die anyways. So I want this power to be raised from the dead. So he did these things carnally. But we are supposed to be so far from that level of understanding that we should be able to understand these spiritual things, because we had the benefit of seeing all these carnal things being played out and had the benefit of being explained these things of what it means spiritually. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 16. Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, let us go, that we may die with him.
All right. So let us go so that we can die with him as well. Because we know he's got the power to raise up. So I'm going to die too. And I want Yahshua to raise me up, because I know that's going to be everlasting. All right. So we're going to drop down and we're going to see how we know what month this was. Go to verse 38. Drop down to verse 38, same chapter. And we're going to read that through verse 57.
Yahshua therefore again, groaning in himself, comes to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. And Yahshua said, take you away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Master, by this time he stinks, for he has been dead 4 days. Yahshua said unto her, said I not unto you, that if you would believe, you should see the glory of Elohim? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid, and Yahshua lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me.
So this is true faith right there. He knows the Father is hearing him already. How does he know this? How does he know the Father is listening to him?
Oh, because he's clean.
Because he's clean. He's keeping the commandments. He's doing the works of the Most High. He's not sinning. He's not transgressing. So, of course, there's nothing stopping the Father from hearing him. His sin is not separating him from the Father. It's our transgression. Isaiah talks about that. Jeremiah, all of them talk about, it's your sin that separates you from the Father. That's what causes him not to hear you. Not that he doesn't want to hear you. So when you have a sinless man walking, he knows his faith is there. I know you heard me. Thank you, Father, you heard me. I'm not asking you, hey, Father, you hear me now? Like Verizon, can you hear me now? He's not doing that. He's not questioning this network. He know this network is infallible. So he's saying, thank you for hearing me, Father. Thank you. Go ahead.
Verse 42. And I knew that you heard me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that you have sent me.
Mm-hmm.
And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave cloths, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Yeshua said unto them, loose him and let him go.
All right. So what they would do is they would bound the dead because, anybody that's a coroner or in that industry understands that, a dead body would just move for no reason. Something would just happen. Nerves or whatever, just gas or whatever, and it just move and it'll freak you out because you think, oh my God. So to prevent all that and people losing their mind and run, especially back in them days when they were superstitious like crazy, would tie him up. So this man is all tied up and all of a sudden he getting up and he alive. Go ahead.
Verse 44.
45.
45. Then many of the Yehudim which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yeshua did, believed on him. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Yeshua had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man does many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation.
Wow.
And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest, that same year said unto them, you know nothing at all. For consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spoke he not of himself, but being high priest, that year he prophesied that Yeshua should die for that nation. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of Elohim that were scattered abroad.
Bingo. And not for that nation only, but so that all should gather together as one of the children of Elohim that were scattered abroad. So he's talking about not only for the Yehudim, but also the scattered children across the earth. When you're talking about scattered, they're talking about the children of Yasharah that were scattered. But it's also considering those people of other nations as well that are going to be special vessels, that are going to be chosen to be the few of the nations that are left alive to come and worship the Most High through the children of Yasharah. Go ahead.
Verse 53. Then from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. Yeshua therefore walked no more openly among the Yehudim, but went thence unto a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Yehudim's Passover was near at hand.
And the Yehudim Passover was near at hand. Now, we just read that in Deuteronomy chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib. Keep that Passover. And it talks about Passover. And if you go, like what the elder said, you go to Exodus Shemot chapter 12, it shows you when Passover happened and what you were doing. And now you see why he came to Judea, why he waited in a bowl 2 days. Because he's like, all right, I know how long it's going to take me to get there. And I know how long I got to be there to show up. Because people thinking that, oh, he's not going to show up. Just like with, what was it? Tabernacles or whatever, when he showed up and they're like, oh, he not coming.
I'm talking about the, when they wanted to, at the.
Well, they was looking to see if he was going to show up or not. That was Solomon's porch. No, when he showed up and came in there and spoke. That was, I believe it was Tabernacles. It was, I believe it was Tabernacles. He showed up and they're like, oh my goodness. They talking, thinking that he not going to show up. And he showed up. And not only did he show up, he didn't show up and put on a hoodie and sit in the back and be like, hey, tell people I was here. No, he got up there and he read. And he did his job. So Yahshua knows exactly what he's doing. He's like, observe the month of Abib. But then you saw after he came and observed that new month, he went back into Ephraim, dipped back in the wilderness. You saw that I came here and kept this holy day. You saw that I did this. It's for the people to see that, look, I'm a commandment keeper. This is how you know I come from the Father, because I'm keeping these commandments. That's how you know somebody come from the Father, is they keeping the commandments. So the Passover was near. So we know it's not the 14th, but it was near. Go ahead. Finish that whole verse. 55.
And the Yehuda's Passover was near at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Then sought they for Yahshua, and spoke among themselves as they stood in the temple, what think you, that he will not come to the feast? Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment that if any man knew where he were,
he should show it.
He should show it,
that they might take him. So they put out a bounty on Yahshua. Look, anybody see this brother? Come, let us know where he's at. We coming from, because he gonna have to show up, just like he showed up, just did this miracle starting Abib. You know, the things are greening. Something was dead, and now Abib comes. Now all of a sudden there's life back into it. How coincidental? It's growing. And he showed up for that. So they know if he showed up for the new month, he showed up for Rosh Hashanah, according to Deuteronomy 16, surely he's going to show up from Passover. And when he shows up, let me know, we're going to come for him. So this is the life. So what you think going to happen to you when you come out here amongst these heathens and you trying to keep commandments? They waiting for you too. But the difference is it ain't everybody's calling to die for this word. That was his calling. All right. Now we're going to get into Enoch chapter 72. So now you see, he knew this calendar that we were going to get into, because how else would he know there's 12 hours in a day? There's your two witnesses. 12 hours in a day, Passover is near. Abib, Rosh Hashanah. Where else would you have 12 hours in a day? The only other time would be in the autumn equinox, but then they wouldn't be talking about Passover. So we're going to the book of Enoch. And again, if you do not have access, you can always go to Israelite Gathering and you can get access to that.
The autumn equinox starts around Tabernacles.
Mm-hmm. So it could have been he could have been coming down for Tabernacles.
Trumpets.
Right.
Trumpets, Tabernacles.
Trumpets. It would be trumpets, because it would be going into that 7th month, which is the right. It would be right before that, because on the 7th month you now have your day is shorter than the night, because now the night is getting longer from that point. But the day before Teruah, before trumpets, that's when you're going to have your autumn equinox, which is going to be almost identical, 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night. But we know it wasn't then, because they just said Passover. So all these clues are in there for a reason, to let you know he know 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night, and to show you what we supposed to do. I don't care what the threat is in your life, whether you're going to lose money or lose life, you're going to show up and keep them commandments if you body of Christ. So we're going to Enoch, the book of Enoch, chapter 72. And again, I posted on Israelite Gathering Facebook page the two graphics that we're using, which is this Enoch diagram, which shows you how the year operates, how the new year starts here in spring, and you go 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31 until you have equal day and equal night. Then the next day You have the day is longer than the night. So the day is springing forward. The day is now longer than the night. So that's the diagram from that. And then we also have this diagram, which shows you the solar gates, the portals that the sun goes through, which will make more sense when we start reading this chapter. So definitely download that, copy that, save those, because it's going to help you understand a little bit better. So Enoch, chapter 72. And again, if you question the validity of Enoch or Jubilees, this is the same documents that they used to put Torah together. The Dead Sea Scrolls. These same ancient documents, this is what they had in Africa. We always trying to use what the Greeks gave us. The Greeks, but where the Greeks got this information from, they got it from Africa. They got it from Ethiopia. They got it from Ghana. They got it from all the places where Hebrews were at. They got it from Israel. Israel is part of Africa. They built the Zeus, spelled backwards, Suez Canal, to separate Africa from Israel. It's the same tectonic plate all the way to the early 1900s. Africa included all of that. Arabia and all that was concluded because all that is part of the tectonic plate. But they want to separate that, and they created a Middle East. How you going to have a middle something? You don't got a Eastern something or a Southern something. Where's the Southern East? Where's the Eastern East? If you got a Middle East, where's the Western East? That doesn't make no sense.
They separated with the Suez Canal.
The Zeus spelled backwards. And they playing games. Where you get Suez from? Oh, coincidentally, is Zeus spelled backwards. Their God. Coincidentally, the same Jesus. What a coincidence. Oh, no, that's just when you translate. No, it's not. It's not. Yeshua will be Joshua. So Enoch, chapter 72. And again, this is another one, praise Yah, because not even just us, other brothers from around the country got together, and we had a huge melting and merging of minds, and we went back and forth at this. And we didn't leave with the same understanding, but what we did do is we're able to pull certain information and disprove and prove certain things, and that's how we were able to come together and get this calendar. And even certain people still didn't see it the same way we saw it, but at least we're able to prove it in here, and we came together as brothers, and we learned this. And then after that, then we went in our own assembly and we came together and we put our best minds together, and we focused on this until we could narrow this down to where we could not disprove it. So don't think that, this was something that, that I just came up with and just, I'm some kind of prophet or whatever, or Jonathan just, showed up one day with a calendar. We worked at this, and we prayed and we tarried, and we're still learning. Enoch, chapter 72, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
The book of the itinerary of the luminaries of heaven, the position of each and every one in respect to their ranks, in respect to their authorities, and in respect to their seasons, each one according to their names and their places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the Kodesh Malach, who was with me, and who also as their guide showed me, just as he showed me all their treaties and the nature of the years of the world unto eternity, till the new creation which abides forever is created.
All right. So all of these things are going to be in place until the new creation. So people tell you, oh no, this is for a specific time. This is back then. Things are different. No, we're told right here by the angel. And furthermore, this is the only calendar system that the author at least claims that he got this from the Most High. Now, he could have lied. I don't know. I wasn't there. But at least the author is claiming and saying the holy angel of Yahweh came and gave me this calendar system, and I'm sharing it with you. Every other calendar is straight pagan. Lunar calendar, Luna, pagan god. Gregorian calendar, after a man, Pope Gregory, pagan. The Julian calendar, after Julius Caesar, pagan. The solar calendar, after the pagan god Solar, pagan. All of those calendars. So we want to hold on to all these things that we know for a fact a man then came up with, and we want to disregard the one calendar where we got to depend on a man that gave us something, but at least the man said, I got this from the angel of Yahweh. And then he says point blank, this is how it's going to be forever until the new creation, which is the new heaven and the new earth, where there's no more sun and moon. So that's why we're not going to be using that same calendar, because now every day is the seventh day of the week in that new creation. So you don't need all this stuff. Go ahead.
Verse 2. This is the first commandment of the luminary.
So it's a commandment. The luminary is commanded to follow instruction. It follows Yahweh's order. It follows the commandments. Go ahead.
The sun is a luminary whose egress is an opening of heaven located in the west. I saw...
Which is located in the direction of the east.
Located in the direction of the east, and whose ingress is another opening of heaven located in the west. I saw 6 openings through which the sun rises, and 6 openings through which it sets. The moon also rises and sets through the same openings, and they are guided by the stars, together with those whom they lead. They are 6 in the east and 6 in the west heaven, all of them arranged one after another in a constant order. There are many windows, both to the left and the right of these openings.
All right. So in verse 3, it's letting you know that the sun and the moon is being guided by the stars. When do you see the stars? At night is the only time you're going to see the stars. You're not going to see the stars in the daytime. So that lets you know if something is leading something, then where is it? It's in front of it. How are you going to lead somebody from the back? I'm going to lead you. Go ahead. I'm going to lead you. Go ahead, woman. I'm going to stand behind you and lead you where you're going. No, you're going to have to get in front and lead her. You're going to have to put yourself in danger. So this is all another witness letting you know the calendar day started at night, because the stars had to lead the sun in to bring the day in, the daytime portion. So there's another witness that the calendar day starts at night. Go ahead.
Verse 4. First there goes out the great light, whose name is the sun. Its roundness is like the roundness of the sky, and it is totally filled with light and heat. The chariot on which it ascends is driven by the blowing wind. The sun sets in the sky in the west and returns by the northeast in order to go to the east. It is guided so that it shall reach the eastern gate and shine in the face of the sky.
All right, so it's just letting you know the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and comes back through the northeast to come back up in the east to set back in the west. Everything moves in that pattern. The sun goes from east to west. The stars, same thing at night. They're in the eastern sky and they move westward. And then the moon, the light on the moon and the shadow on the moon come in from the east to west. Everything moves from east to west, so that whether you're at night or you're in daytime, you can always know if you know where you are physically located, you can know where Jerusalem is. As long as you know where you're at, you know where Jerusalem is, either east or west to you, you know where you can pray. Because you can go up in the daytime and look at the direction of the sun, where it's moving, it's going that way, that means that's west. That means I need to look this way because that's where Jerusalem is, it's east. If you're at nighttime, you look up at the sky, you look at any major star constellation or whatever, you can see some pattern, even if it's your own made up pattern that you made in the sky. You watch it for about 10, 15 minutes, you're going to see it's moving a certain direction. That's your west. Then you'll always know, okay, that means the opposite direction is east. Let me pray that direction towards Jerusalem. Go ahead.
Verse 6. In this manner, it rises in the first month through the major gate. It proceeds through this gate, which is the 4th among those 6 openings which are located in the direction of the east.
All right. So the first month, which is Abib, it is going to rise through the 4th gate. So the 4th gate would be when you see that sun rising and setting in that 4th gate, then you know that's the month of Abib. And this is where you want to go to this here. This would be the 4th gate would be in this area right here, where you have the 4th gate, that 4th opening, and you have east to west. The sun's going to come here east like this and go west. And it's going to keep going like this all the way till it goes up and down like this, till it goes to the next gate, so forth and so on. And it takes a month for it to go through that whole portal, that whole gate. And when it hits that point, that's the last day of the month. And then now it's going into the next month. And it goes through these gates twice. Goes up like that through these gates till it reaches the peak. Then it comes back down through these gates. And when it gets down here to the bottom, that's the shortest day of the year, because the sun takes less time for it to go, which means you're going to have a longer night. And that will be where we're at right now. We're right around here where you have the solstice, where you have the winter solstice, which is going to be the longest day of the year, which would have happened around yesterday or the day before. Would have been, yesterday was what, the 21st? Yeah. No, yesterday was the 22nd. So the 21st, around that, the 21st and 22nd would have been the longest night of the year. The night is going to get shorter every day from this point forward until we get into the spring, where it's going to be equal day and equal night the day before spring starts. Read that verse again, brother.
Verse 6. Or is it verse 7? Verse 7. By this 4th gate, through which the sun rises during the first month. No, it was verse 6. Mm-hmm. In this manner it rises in the first month through the major gate. It proceeds through this gate, which is the 4th among those 6 openings which are located in the direction of the east. By this 4th gate, through which the sun rises during the first month, there are 12 open windows from which a flame flows when they are opened at the appropriate time. When the sun rises in the east sky, it goes out through this 4th gate for 30 mornings and descends faithfully through the 4th gate in the western sky. During those 30 days, the day daily becomes longer and the night nightly shorter for 30 days.
All right. So again, if you look at this diagram right here, this will be your 4th opening right here. And every day, it's from about right here, it goes east to west. Day 1, day 2. For 30 days, it takes 30 days for it to go all the way through this gate. Up and down, sunset, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, back and forth, all the way till you get here. And every day, the day is getting longer, because you can see it's going to take longer as this gets wider for it to travel the path. It's taking longer. So being that it's taking longer to go through this path, the day is getting longer, so forth. And it takes 30 days to go through that. So that is your first month. Abib would be here through this gate, 30 days. Now what that is, if you look on this calendar here, that would be here. That would be your spring. It would take 30 days to go through this process where every day the day is getting longer until you're going into mid-spring. And mid-spring will be the 2nd month, the month after Abib. But that's going to be a new gate. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. On that day, the day is longer than the night by 1/9, so that the day turns out to be exactly 10 parts and the night to be 8 parts. Mm-hmm. The sun rises from that 4th eastern gate and sets in the 4th western one. And then it turns and comes into the 5th gate of the east for 30 days, through which it rises and sets in the 5th gate. All
right, so for you mathematicians that want to get extra mathematical, see, Brother Jonathan, he's like a math guy. He's good at all that. You know, if it wasn't for calculators, bro, I probably wouldn't even know my own phone number. That's how bad I'm with math. But at the end of the day, you can calculate this. This is how you can be literally in a cave, complete pitch black darkness, and wake up and be able to calculate how much sunlight and how much nighttime you have, and be able to pinpoint, according to this system, the exact day of the year you're in the exact month, by using the heavenly tablets, by saying, is it hot outside or is it cold outside? Is the day getting longer or is the day getting shorter? That puts you at wherever point you're at. And then how much longer is the day getting and how much longer is the night getting? And it'll tell you exactly. Because right there in verse 10, it says, and that day is longer than the night by 1/9. So it turns out to be exactly 10 parts night and 8 parts day. So, the day is 10 parts and the night is 8 parts. So that means if you take 24 hours and you split it into 18 parts, that's how you know, and you calculate how much a part is. A part was like what? What was a part? Part was like what? 1.66 minutes or something like that.
You divided it by 18, divided 12 hours by 18. Mm-hmm. Or divided 24 hours by 18. And you get what? Like 1.66 or something like, or I think it's 1.666 repeating. Yeah, or a third.
Or 1 1/3, or 1.333, right? So it's 1 1/3. So it should be 1.33333.
Yeah, 1 1/3.
So that means a minute and 33 seconds will give you, an hour and 33, an hour and a third gives you a part. And that would be 2.66 minutes, I think. But anyways, you do the math there. Each part. So now he's giving you how many parts day and how many parts night. So you can calculate how many parts to tell you exactly where you are.
So basically that third amounts to 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So it's an hour and about 20 minutes. So it's an hour and 20 minutes for each part.
Yeah.
So 18 parts. So you would take 18 and multiply that by an hour and 20 minutes, and it would give you the 24 hours. So it's not exactly like how we use a different breakdown of minutes and hours, but you can convert that with mathematics if you want to do that to be more precise. Go ahead, brother.
All right, let me go back into the Enoch here. We have verse 11. So I'll repeat. The sun rises from that fourth eastern gate and sets in the fourth western one. And then it turns and comes into the fifth gate of the east for 30 days, through which it rises and sets in the fifth gate.
All right, so then again, your fourth gate would be here. Your fifth gate is going to be here. So it's going to do the same thing. It's rising and it's actually getting higher. 30 days, again, east-west, 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 till 30 days to get through that fifth gate. And again, it was 10 parts day here, 8 parts night. Up here is going to have a different ratio. So that's how you know the difference of where you are in the spring, because the ratio is going to be different. Now, we naturally know that by looking outside and saying it's going to get darker earlier. It's going to get darker later, especially us that keep the Shabbat, because we always trying to beat the sun on Friday. So we already accustomed to understanding that concept. So in knowing that can tell you exactly where you are. And how you can prove this as well is just like when you drive to work in the morning. When you drive to work in the morning, some mornings you got the sun dead in your face and you go in the same direction. You're always going east, or you're going west, or you're going north, or you're going south to go to work. And the sun will be shining a certain way or shining this way. And then throughout the different parts of the year, it's different. Now it's not shining directly in your face. It's higher, or it's further up, or it's so low that the trees are covering it. So this is how you know the gates. You can figure the gates out by knowing where you are and looking at where the position of the sun is, or where it's shining a shadow in your house. You can map the gates that way, so you can figure out where your gates are. Go ahead, brother.
All right. Verse 12. At that time, the day further becomes longer and becomes 11 parts, and the night shortens and becomes 7 parts on account of the sun.
Again, because it's taking longer for it to travel because it's going higher. So before you had 10 and 8, now you have 11 parts day, 7 parts night. The night is getting shorter. That lets you know where you're at. Go ahead.
Verse 13. It then returns to the east and comes into the 6th gate, rising and setting through that 6th gate for 31 days, according to the principle of the gate.
All right. So now that you're going into the last month of the season, see, this is how we know, again, there's that pattern. 30, 30, 31, changing of a season. 30, 30, 31, changing of a season. All these months here, when you get right here, 30, 30, 31, changing of a season. 31 here, 30, 30, 31, changing of a season. Every time you're going into changing into a season, you're going to have 31 days.
12 parts and the night 6 parts.
All right, so you have 12. Where are we at now?
This is verse 14. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night still further. So the day becomes 12 parts and the night shortens and becomes 6 parts.
All right, so you have the day is twice as long as the night. Because you got 12 parts on one, you got 6 parts on the other. That means the day is twice as long. So you're getting to a longer part of the year. A longer part of the day. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. All right. Verse 15. Then the sun is raised in such a way that its duration shortens and night occurs. The sun returns to the east and enters the 6th gate, rising and setting through it for 30 days.
All right, so again, you had your change into the season. It's going up. 4th gate, 5th gate, 6th gate. Goes all the way up. Now it's coming back down. It goes, because it went this way all the way up. Can't go into outer space. It gotta come back down. So then now it's doing the same thing back through the gate, but it's going back down through the gate, which means the daytime is going to get shorter. For 30 days, it's going to continue doing that. Go ahead.
Verse 16. When 30 days are completed, the day decreases exactly by 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then the sun, leaving the west by that 6th gate, going to the east, rises through the 5th gate for 30 mornings and sets again in the 5th gate in the west. On that day, the day increases by 2 parts, so the day becomes 10 parts and the night 8 parts. Then the sun, departing from that 5th gate and setting in the 5th gate in the west, rises in the 4th gate for 31 days according to the principle of the gate and sets in the west.
All right, so that month, it's going through that 5th gate for 31 days. So if it's take 31 days for the sun to go through that gate, what does that mean? What does it mean when you have 31 days?
Changing the season.
It's a changing of a season. Because the sun takes an extra day to change gates. It's not just moving, but it's moving in the direction it's moving, and it's going through a gate. For whatever reason, it takes a day longer. Those are the days of remembrance that we read about on Bible study. The day of remembrance. You have 4 of them in a year where it takes that extra day for it to go through the gate. Go ahead.
All right. We are on verse 20. On that day, the day is aligned with the night so that they become equal. So the night becomes 9 parts and the day 9 parts.
So now you have an equalux, another equalux, 9 and 9. The day is exactly the same portion as the nighttime. So it'll be 12 hours and 12 hours. But what's happening here? Is the day starting to grow longer, or is it starting to grow smaller? What's happening here?
Well, when the year began, the day was growing
Longer. It was springing forward.
Right. So, yeah, so we was getting longer days and shorter nights And then when it got to the sixth gate, it got to the longest day duration it's going to have for the whole year.
Right.
So then now from that part on, it's going to go until the day and night are equal, and then we're going to cross over into the winter season when the night kind of takes over.
Exactly. So it's not spring because the day is not springing forward. It's springing backwards. It's getting shorter. The day is getting shorter. The night is getting longer. That lets you know where you are. You're coming out of your summertime and you're starting to get into your fall. That's why it's called the autumn equinox or the fall equinox, because you have equal day and equal night, but the day is falling. That's why it's called fall. Not because the leaves fall. Leaves fall all year long. Leaves grow and they die and they fall off. No, the day is falling. In spring, the day is springing. The day is springing up. In fall, the day is falling down. So that will be here. So again, here's your diagram. We went through this. The spring, summer, summer, till you get right here. Now you're having your equinox, that period right there before you get into your autumn. That's going to be exactly 12 hours day and 12 hours night. Then from that day forward, you're going to have a little bit more night than you have day, a little bit more night until you get to your longest night.
16 hours, going to have a 16-hour day. Verse 21. The sun, departing from that gate and setting in the west, returns to the east and comes out through the third gate for 30 days and sets in the third gate in the west. On that day, the night becomes longer than the day. On that day, the night becomes longer than the day. It becomes longer than the previous night, and the day becomes shorter than the previous day for 30 days. So the night turns out to be exactly 10 parts, and the day to be 8 parts.
That's the fall. We're in the fall, so you know that there's going to be 10 parts night and 8 parts day. The night is going to be longer, and it's going to do that for 30 days, where your night is going to consistently get a little bit longer. And I think if you do the math, it was like by 1.66, 1 in 6 minutes or something like that.
The easiest way now is you look at one part. A part is an hour and 20 minutes. It's pretty much 80 minutes. So
divide that 80 by 30 days.
So when it says 12 parts day, just do 12 times 80, and it's like 16. So you get a 16-hour day,
right?
Which is how the day is the longest.
But each day will change by, I believe, a minute and 66, something like that, if I remember correctly.
Divide each
if you
part
want
by
to get,
30
yeah,
days.
if you really want to get technical when you're trying to find out exactly what day you're in.
Yeah, you're right. So it's 2 1/3 minute, 2
So
2/3 minutes.
So 2.6666.
And 2/3 of that's 40 seconds.
Right. So you can get all the way down if you want to be a mathematician. If you are ever find yourself in a situation,
hey, bro, the difference between each day, it really does become like in seconds. Where like after a certain time, you said, okay, there's like when we look on the charts, it only moved like a couple minutes,
seconds,
barely
barely
seconds, sundown on each day,
right?
Until you get that whole part, which you
right.
get the 80 minutes after.
It takes 30 days for you to go through that, and then when it's a changing of a season, to get to that new season, it's going to take 31 days. For you to get to that change. So all of this is precise. This is order. This is a clock going on. And all while we're looking at this sun, you're going to get your second witness from the moon. Every beginning of a season, a changing of a season, you're going to see the same moon phase. So if we had a full moon to begin the year, when you go into summer, the beginning of summer, you're going to have a full moon. That's your witness. That's when it goes to when it goes into Psalms, when it talks about the moon is for your seasons. Because the moon will be your confirmation along with your solar gates that you're going into a new season. And that moon will also tell you what year you're in. Once you understand through the 1 through 7 year cycle, the moon phase is going to keep changing. And when it comes back to a certain cycle, that lets you know what year you're in, year 1, year 2. And that's how you calculate your jubilees. The problem is we don't have exact proof of which moon phase was the start. You got to have the starting point. So that's where we come into a little bit of difficulty. And if anybody has that information where they can precept that to us to how we can use the moon phase to determine exactly what year we're in as far as Jubilees, please send that information to us. Because again, we're not acting like we got all the answers. Now we know the Dead Sea Scrolls show that on the year 1, they had a full moon. So that's possible. But where did they get that from?
And the question will be asked, when Yah created the whole earth, did he create it to where, like when time began? Because you have the before time, before the sun and the moon were created.
Right.
And then you have the calendar is created on the 4th day, sun and the moon. So when he created the sun and the moon on that day, we saw the whole sun.
Right.
But when he first created, did we see the whole moon, or did he create the world with the moon in new month?
Did he stick the moon where it was supposed to be? In the cycle, as if it was, already starting through the cycle on the first day? Or did he start it, blank with an empty
crescent.
with a crescent on the first day? Because the first day you're going to see a sliver of that moon in the daytime portion, because you see the moon in the daytime portion. The night of the first day, you ain't going to see anything. But what they would do is they had 2 witnesses. The night, completely dark. They had the sun to be witness number 1. You had the stars to be witness number 2. And you had the moon to let you know you were in a phase. Then the next day of day 1, or that same first day, during the daytime portion, when you see the moon, that first daytime portion of day 1, you're going to see a little sliver. And then that next night, which starting day 2, you're going to see the sliver again. And that's what caused that confusion with people arguing over, does the new month start, does the lunar month start with the sliver or start with the dark? And when you read Enoch, if we go into those chapters, which is the preceding chapter, it tells you both of those things.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like the only difference between our ignorance and full understanding is, maybe there's a scroll that has the answer. So it really don't make no sense people get into hot debates, because at the end of the day, do you have literal proof or do you not? And if you don't have literal proof, we're all gonna be coming to a surmising as to what it's gonna be.
And so at the end of the day, what you fighting where the new moon starts anyways? Because you got 2 other witnesses, the sun and the stars, which the sun is a star, by the way. The stars is telling you when something starts. The moon phase is another witness. It's like a minute hand versus the hour hand. The hour hand is what you need to know. What hour you in? The minute, that's being more precise. But you need to know that hour hand, because you at least know what hour you're in.
We might be a scroll away from full understanding. So everyone just keep patient.
Oh, and they got it.
And let's learn.
Oh, they got that scroll. They got it. Oh, you best believe they got it, because they keeping it. They keeping it behind closed doors. Right. They keeping it behind closed doors. But they also keeping all the other pagan stuff they doing with it too, because they worship all gods. They don't care. The real living Elohim, they want to hedge their bet. They said, we're going to worship all the gods just to make sure we worship the right one. When the Most High said, nah, there's only one true living Elohim. Everything else is man-made.
All right.
Go ahead.
Let me repeat verse 23. The sun, departing from the 3rd gate in the west and returning to the east, comes out through the 2nd gate in the east for 30 days, and in the same manner it sets through the 2nd gate in the western sky. My only thing, I didn't see where the 4th gate was mentioned, but I see it was mentioned in verse 19. Verse 19 mentioned
it was a 4th gate mentioned the first time.
It's 2 mentions of the 4th gate.
The winter part of the 4th gate is mentioned in verse 19, but it mentioned
that's the 5th gate.
Yeah, it mentioned the 5th and the 4th gate in that one. That's why I missed it. I didn't see it as starting its own verse.
Oh,
so
okay. I see what you're saying.
The 4th gate doesn't get its own verse. It's conjoined with the 5th gate.
Right.
All right. So for verse 24, on that day, the night becomes 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And that was verse.
You're on verse 24.
Verse 24. Verse 25.
No, you're on verse 24. You just read 23, so you're on 24.
On that day, the night becomes 11 parts, and the day 7 parts.
So again, the night is getting longer. Go ahead.
Then the sun, departing on that day from the 2nd gate and setting in the west in the 2nd gate, returns to the east and rises in the first gate for 31 days and sets on that day in the western sky.
So 31 days, what does that mean?
Changing your season.
Changing of a season.
Full
Go ahead.
blown winter.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 26. On that day, the night lengthens and becomes 12 parts, whereas the day shortens and becomes 6 parts.
And that is the beginning of winter. That's what we're in right now. So that's why you have the longest
Night of the year.
You're going to get the longest night of the year because it's 12. It's going to be 12 hours and or 16 parts and 8 parts.
Mm-hmm. So you get 16
No, not
hours.
16. It's going to be 6.
12 plus precisely,
Right, 12 and 6. Right, 12 parts night, 6 parts day.
What's 6 times 8?
6 times 8 is what? 48? Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that math later. All right, we're on verse. I just read about the longest night.
31.
Right? So 12 parts. So verse 31.
32, actually. We read the 31 days. So you're in 32.
Shorter, that's 10 part, day 8 part. So we just read about the longest. That was 26 I just read. 26 says, on that day the
Okay.
night lengthens and becomes 12 parts, whereas the day shortens and becomes 6 parts.
Verse 27.
Thus the sun completes its appearances and goes through those same cycles of appearances a second time, coming out through all the openings for 30 days and setting also in the west opposite.
So that would be here where, okay, went through all the gates. Now it's going back up because now it's going back up to start the new year to get back into the 4th gate. So it has to go back through those gates. It's lower to the ground. It's the same concept of if you take a flashlight and you go like this, you're going to light up more area. But if you go like this, you're only going to light up a certain area. So that's why the sun is lower, it's colder. But when the sun is higher, it's beaming that heat more directly on, and it's hotter. Go ahead.
Night, 8 hours day. All right. We are on verse
28.
28. On that night, the length of the night increases by one night. Decreases by one night, so that the night becomes 11 parts and the day 7 parts.
Mm-hmm.
Then the sun, returning and entering the second gate, which is in the east, resumes its appearances for 30 mornings, rising and setting as usual. On that day, the night becomes shorter, so that the night becomes 10 parts and the day 8 parts.
The night is shrinking.
Verse 31. On that day, the sun departing from this second gate and setting in the west returns to the east and rises through the third gate for 31 days and sets in the western sky. On that day, the night shortens and becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. And then the night becomes equal with the day, and the days of the year add up to exactly 364 days. The lengths of the day and night, as well as the shortness of the day and night, are determined by the course of the circuit of the sun, and distinguished by it. The circuit becomes longer or shorter, day by day and night by night, respectively. Thus, this is the order for the course of the movement and the settlement of the sun, that great luminary which is called the sun, for the duration of the years of the universe in respect to its going in and coming out.
So from the duration of the years of the universe, man, as long as this universe is going to continue, this is the pattern. But man will always try to come up with his own mind to figure out, how things are changing. No, it tells us point blank, this is what it is. We have to believe and we have to have faith in that and we have to follow that. But man will, that, to make it their doctrine fit. And it is a little bit of confusion because we're looking at a modern calendar, which changes things, and we're using minutes and hours instead of parts. So it causes a little bit of confusion. But at the end of the day, we can calculate our calendar this way. And you see that the last thing that it did was go through the third gate, which means the next gate is the 4th gate. If you go back to the beginning of what we read, that lets you know that's where everything starts. It goes back to the 4th gate. So we went all the way up, boom, 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 up to the highest point, hottest point, then down. It's getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until we get back into that 4th gate. Then when we get back in that 4th gate, then it goes again. So we go back into winter. Go back again. So it follows that same pattern over and over. Just like here. You look at this, it follows the same pattern. You got spring, starts here in the 4th gate. You're going through the seasons. 31 days here till you get into your summer. 31 days here, the last month of the summer. Down here, you're going to have equal day and equal night. All the way until you go up in here. This is where you're going to have your solstices, where you're going to have your longest day. And here you're going to have your longest night. Or excuse me, your longest day and your longest night. All through here. All right, go ahead and finish it up.
All right, we are at verse 36. It is that very luminary which manifests itself in its appearance as Yahweh has commanded that it shall come out and go in this manner.
So it is a servant. The moon, the sun, the stars, these are all servants that we read, that we even started with it by saying the commandment. So these servants are following the commandment. We are not to worship something that follows commandment. We worship the thing that created commandments, which is Yahweh. This is why we don't worship Yeshua, which is the commandment. Yeshua is the commandments. He's the word. We don't worship. We keep the commandment, just like every other servant, just like Yeshua kept Yahweh's commandments. But we worship the creator, the author and the architect of everything that gave it, that commanded these things to happen. We are the only thing in this entire creation that does not, on this earth, we're the only thing on this earth that does not follow the commandments. The sun follows it all the way into the new heaven and the new earth. The moon follows it. The stars follow it. Everything. Even these angels do what they got to do. Because if you go to Job, them angels showed up. Lucifer showed up to keep these holy days, to make his appearance. So you think that they're all doing what they're supposed to do, but when you go in Enoch, it also says there's angels that are assigned to lead the nations away from Yahweh. Now, what Yah is going to do, where we think that Yah is not in control of something, we talk about us. We're created, and many of us, we don't keep the commandments. So Yah is saying, all right, I'm going to let you do what you do because I created light and I created dark. You want to be an evil vessel? Guess what? I'm going to use you for an evil vessel. I'm going to show you my might and my power and my glory in you when you get destroyed and you are brought down low because you don't keep the commandments. So it's the same thing he did with those evil angels that left their state. Okay, you want to be wicked? Just like the one that said, you going to convince Ahab to go against such and such? I'll do it. I will be a lying spirit. Oh, okay, you want to be a lying spirit? Great. And you will be successful because I need this job to be done. So again, we got to decide what we want to be. We want to be that vessel that decided, well, we're going to be wicked. And Yahweh said, well, you're going to keep the commandment anyways because you're going to be a wicked commandment. You're going to do all the wicked stuff that I need to be done in the earth so I can separate the difference between wicked and righteousness. So you be that example of wickedness so I can justify my servant in righteousness. Go ahead and finish that up.
All right. Final verse 37. And neither does it diminish in respect to its brightness, nor take rest, but continue to run day and night.
So it doesn't diminish in its brightness, which means it's not changing. You're going to have this same system, period. It's not going to change. But man has created, and think about it, man will create anything in his power through the adversary, the devil, to confuse you and to cause you to use whatever he has to be off on it. So he created minutes and hours and these atomic watches and all this stuff to throw you off so that you will be off and look at something and say, this doesn't match. Something is off here. But if you look at the sun, moon, and stars and you calculate, you're going to get that perfect order. But the worshipers of the adversary, the devil, and the other nations and their infinite knowledge will come up with everything to keep you away from following this when our faith is to believe that the Most High left us this and this is what we're supposed to be doing. Finish that up, Art?
That was the last verse.
Well, we didn't finish the whole thing. I cut you off.
And neither does it diminish in respect to his brightness, nor take rest, but continue to run day and night. As for the intensity of his light, it is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. Nevertheless, the sun and the moon are equal in regard to their respective sizes.
That's a key piece of information there. The sun and moon are the exact same size. That means they lied to us about where the sun is. Oh yeah, it's 5 billion miles away or whatever. That's lies. Because if it was that big, then it wouldn't that far away. You wouldn't be able to get those eclipses and all that stuff. It wouldn't work. It's too far. Or the size is different. But it's eclipsing because they're the same size. So NASA lying to us, giving us all this information. And if that's the case, and the sun was so far away, and you're in an outer space, then the same way the sun is so far away and it's able to light up all this stuff that we're able to see the stars, then you'd be able to see the stars in outer space as well. But they can't show you the stars in outer space. Why? For several reasons. They ain't been to space. That's reason number one. And reason number two, it will be proof that they weren't in space. Because if they show you a map of the stars, us that look at the stars, that are watching the constellation, say that's a lie. Because why are you seeing this constellation over here? Or why isn't this not this constellation? Or when did you go to the moon? Oh, you went to the moon on this particular date. So that means you would see this constellation. And they would have to put so much detail that they don't have time to do that for every single fake ass picture that they put up there.
You notice it's supposed to be black. They show pictures.
Right.
It's black.
And how the hell are you going to show the first landing of the Apollo? Who took the damn video? What kind of crap is that? Who took the damn picture? That's like the one that say, here's the picture of the first camera. Really? Who took the picture of the first camera? You think we idiots. Then on top of that, you on the moon and you got 3-point lighting on the moon.
Wow, yeah.
Where are you getting this is 3-point lighting. Light, and then if we had a third light in the back, lighten it up. That gives you the tripod, the tri-light, which is the key light, the fill light, and your backlighting. How you have that on the moon? Where you getting shadows coming down like this when you only got one source, the sun. Don't make no sense. And then on top of that, you look at the pictures, you can see the little blinging at the top. The bling, bling. That's the light hitting those cords, those wires that they got on them to make them and all that.
You got one set of shoes marking on.
Had a flag waving.
One they show in a museum, they got a round bottom on the museum.
Different shoes.
They got 3 lines.
Different shoes.
Boot marks. Yeah.
You got different shoes. You couldn't even take the time to match up the shoes like they do in forensics,
Right.
where they match up your tire mark and your shoe print. Be like, them size 12 Timbs. And what size shoe you wear? Size 12. Let me see the bottom of your shoes. You worn out right in that pattern because you walk with a gangster lean. So that is worn out right there. Guilty. So they got enough sense to do that. Come on, bruh. You can see the bling. You watch the videos, you can see the light blinging on something. What is it blinging on? It's got to be reflecting off something. It's a wire. Then furthermore, look at the rocket that sent them up there. They was like, yo, these people so stupid and they're so prideful that they're going to believe that. So they could be like, my country went into space first. My country landed on the moon.
All of them are Confederate allies.
Yeah, because they can't say, Russia, you ain't go to no moon. America, you ain't go to no moon. All right, well, I guess he did go to the moon. I guess he did. That's the same lie they got going off in Israel. Oh, you ain't the children of Israel. Well, you ain't the children of Israel.
That's right.
But this portion of land belong to us. Well, this portion of land belong to us. Why it don't? Why yours don't? All right, then. They got to be Confederate in them lies. So you look at the rocket that took them to the moon. These they had to crawl through the engine to get out.
Interesting.
Bro, a rocket that took you into outer space, you crawl through the engine to get into the pod to eject out. Stop it.
Made them look like fools.
Even what's the Avatar came and told you, bruh, look, I make movies for a living. I make people believe BS. And I can't believe this BS because when we make a lie in a movie, we got to make the lie believable. Y'all didn't even make the lie believable. Y'all should have let me direct that film. I know I'd have been like 7, but still, you should have let me direct the film. I would have gave you more common sense than that. But they want us to believe that. But see, part of that is their pride. Man can't accomplish these things that Yahshua done shot up. Enoch, Elijah. Man can't do that. So he got to create a lie to convince something. That's where you got these theories that become laws. Since man can't explain something, he would have to acknowledge that there's a greater power than him. He don't want to humble himself, so he got to make something up so he can say, see, I can explain how things happen because I'm a God too. And that's how they operated, and we believed all this stuff because some white man came and told us that and put it in a book. And they sold them books to the schools, and them books turned around and told us that. When you got the answers right here in your Torah and in the ancient scriptures that show you that's BS. And then we come into this truth, and we let Jewish people, Greeks, come in here and try to tell us how we supposed to understand this book. When we read the actual book that they giving us, is saying, this don't match what you're saying. This don't add up. It say in the scriptures, it tell you that the sun and the moon and the stars going away. It's going away. We ain't gonna have that no more. But then it turn around and tell you from new month to new month. If it's new moon to new moon forever, there ain't no moon. So you gotta be talking about month, but it's using that same word that they tell you mean new moon. It don't add up. And this is different. There's only a select handful of Hebrews that have this understanding, that are following this. And they're not all in one assembly. There's even people in other assemblies that are following this, but they part of other assemblies that chasing Sabbath days and waiting for the equinox and all kind of stuff. There's a small group of people. But when these people try to come to you with this new moon crap, simple way to blow that up, when they ask you about a new moon, say how many days are in a year? Ask them that. They won't be able to answer that question. Because if they answer the question, it's going to devalidate their belief. 354 days does not give you a year. Even in Babylon, that won't give you a year. You're not going to get all your seasons. 383 or 384 days is way too long. So you telling me you had an 8R2, so your year was 380 something days? Even if you add the 380 and the 354, it ain't still not going to catch you up. Nope. It ain't going to get you where you need to get. So simple mathematics show you that you are lying. But what we comfortable with a lie. My people love to have it so. Because Elder said that. Because this Hebrew, all speak perfect Hebrew guy said it. Because this rabbi said that. Because this Jewish people said that we say, oh, he a fake Jew, he a lying Jew, but I'm going to follow what he do. Because they said that, we believe it. Well, what does your book say? What does your ancient tablet say? That is before English, before Greek and Latin was created. What do those things say? What did the ancients say in the continent of Africa where life came from? What did they say? But again, we so damn low spiritual self-esteem that we want to believe what these non-Hebrews are telling us because we believe they're smarter than us. And they may be smarter than us because they said we are sottish people. But what they don't have is they don't have the Holy Spirit. They don't have the angels guiding them the way they're guiding us. If they need guidance, they got to go to one of us and have one of our angels guide them because their angels going to gather them away from Yahweh. So again, I know this is a lot to cover in one day, and before we used to go even deeper, but I know we thoroughly confused people. So we simplified it a little bit and gave you the building blocks of it, and we split it into 2 classes, and you have the videos now. The videos will be saved. They will be here as long as net neutrality don't kill us. You'll have those videos there where you can go over it and you can prove it. And if somebody's teaching you otherwise and teaching you different, send them to this video. Have them disprove this video and send your teacher to me. Send your elder to me. Send your pastor to us at Israelite Gathering. And we will sit down and talk with them. And if we're wrong, we'll repent. We have no problem repenting. Nope. We've repented several times. We used to be lunatics following the moon. We used to do that. And it was, at first, we casted the moon out completely. Get away from me, moon. We using straight sun. And we were missing the witness. We didn't understand the moon. But we understood the lunar cycle. And now, through other servants that were presented to us, now we understand the relationship of the sun and the moon, and how the moon is another witness. And there's even more that we don't understand in the stars. But at the end of the day, all three agree, just like the blood, the water, and the spirit. All three of those agree. Same thing, sun, moon, stars, all those agree. But if you take any one of them and you make that your God, it's going to mess up your whole calendar. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we go in prayer? Go ahead, brother. Hold on one second. Take it off speaker.
And put it on mute.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm wondering, how does this calendar reconcile with the different hemispheres, like with the southern hemisphere? Like, would they be in a different part of the calendar because they're in a different season? Like, say in the southern hemisphere, like when it's summer here, it'd be winter there. Like, would they be in a different part of the calendar, or like how would that work?
It's different with them because the sun is going to be shining a different angle. That's why they'll have, this was designed for Hebrews. So this is our portion of the earth. Other portions of the earth, take it off mute. How you put it on speaker right here?
Just hit that phone button.
Okay. This was given to Hebrews. This was given to a certain portion of the earth. So this is going to reign true to the certain portion of the earth. You're going to have equinox at different times at different places. But again, this is why we were to travel to Jerusalem for these different things, so that we could all stay on one accord. So it does affect differently. But where we're located is very close to the same, in at least Florida, the southern part, Florida and Atlanta and all that. If you take a line and go straight across, if that world map is correct, don't know. But at least on the world map, if you take a straight line and go all the way across, it's going to bring you right around Florida, Georgia area, in between there. So we're close. We're close to the same latitude as where Jerusalem is. So we're experiencing similarities. But at the end of the day, it's going to be slightly different based upon where you're at. Because when you're in Alaska, you're getting a whole different type of sun and night. You know, and we're there too. But this is why we have to pray towards Jerusalem. This is why he's telling us to look there. We have to pay attention to what's going on over there. But just like here, we got to keep the Shabbat based upon our sun. Jerusalem is what, 6 hour difference or something like that? Something like whatever hour difference is different.
It's like California, it's like 3 hours different.
Right, because they're more eastern. They're eastern for us. That's why we pray to the east. So they're getting stuff before we get it. So we can't be in the daytime and 6 hours later it's night for us and saying Shabbat Shalom. No, we still got day. We live here. We got to work here. You know, so we got to follow things according to here.
And all nations will have to come keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
All nations going to have to come down to Jerusalem to keep, and that means they're going to have Hebrews that's telling them, hey, you know, you're going to have your resident Hebrew that's chilling there, you know, they're coming by saying, hey, you've been blow this shofar. Y'all better bring y'all behinds. Y'all want rain. Y'all want to eat because there ain't no more rivers and there ain't no more oceans. So if you want water, you either have to come to where the water runs in Jerusalem and get from the leaves to free yourself, or you have to wait for it till the rain comes and y'all be like, that cloud passed right by you. You ain't getting no rain because you don't want to come up here. Just go ahead and suffer. And guess what? You can't die. So you're just going to suffer. So you can be bold. You can be, you know, I'm going to hold out. Yeah, okay, then just suffer forever. Nah, you ain't that hard. You ain't that hard. You want to eat. And you can suffer all you want till your kids start. Then all of a sudden you ready to, we here to worship you. So all of this is mapped out. Again, if you have any questions or you have any comments, definitely reach out to us. Send us an email. Again, we don't claim to know everything. And anybody brings any kind of information that we can validate, that, you know, if you come and you just tell us, hey, you know, tomorrow's the Shabbat. I can't do nothing with that. Tell me why tomorrow's the Shabbat and show me where you're getting your information from. I don't want to hear about some guy with some dreads walked up and told you that. No, show me something so we can prove or disprove it. Because again, it was other brothers that came to us and said, y'all wrong. What y'all doing? You know, praise y'all for the brothers that came. And we said the same thing. Well, show me, prove it to me. And what they did is they showed us the documents, and they brought us to the Dead Sea Scrolls and Enoch, and we went over this stuff, and we were able, and we couldn't disprove it. And believe me, we tried. Don't nobody want to find out that they wrong. We want to, we want to feel like we right, but we don't want to feel that we right to the point where we're going to forego our salvation just to feel like we right. That's vanity. All right, let's go ahead and close in a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings, and all sisters pray with their heads covered. And one of the brothers was asking for a DVD of this. Again, this class is online. You'd have to send us an email, and we can try to get a DVD together for you, because I know this is an important bit of information. Brother, can you get that incense going? Yes. We also had another brother that made a comment about, the blacks are really the Hebrew Israelites. And he asked, does that mean Lucifer is black? Lucifer was an angel. Angels are spirits. Spirits don't have color. Spirits are invisible. Now that spirit can take hold in a host if there's no covering, if there's no hedge about. It can get into that host. And what he would have done is he would have went into the host of a black person if he wanted to come down here, because it was all black people. Everybody had melanin until a certain point where there was some kind of change where melanin was lost. And we have several examples where that happened. Now, exactly, who that happened to and why that happened, we only know what the scriptures tell us. The scriptures tell it cleave on to Naaman, and his name literally means white, and it cleaved on to Gehazi. Now, and Cain had a mark, but it never said Cain became leprous. It doesn't say that. So, and there's nowhere in the Bible say Esau became leprous. But it shows Esau sleeping with a bunch of people that Yahweh said don't mess with them people. Canaanites and Ishmaelites. Well, we were not specifically to deal with those people. So we can see Esau and went into dark-skinned people. Tents, dark black as the tents of Kedar. It don't say white as the tents of Kedar. So we know he messed with dark-skinned people. But as far as the color of Lucifer is like arguing what's the color of Yahweh. He's a spirit. He's not fleshly like us. And again, we pray towards the east because we are westward of Jerusalem. So we are praying towards the Holy Temple. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, Yaakov, Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for your mercy, Yahweh, and your patience with us, Yahweh. We thank you for calling us out of this world, Yahweh, and bringing us closer to your word, your son, Yahshua. We thank you for all the brothers and sisters that you have put in our lives to aid us in that process, to keep us on that narrow path. We thank you for the brothers and sisters that planted the seeds. We thank you for the brothers and sisters you put in our lives to water those seeds, Yahweh. And though we disagree as brothers and sisters often, we thank you that you have allowed us, Yahweh, to even be having these type of discussions. We could be sitting around here talking about who's going to win the World Series. But instead, Yahweh, you have your brothers and sisters working together to rightly divide these scriptures so that we can do the best that we have as a nation to come back towards your commandments and keep your holy days, Yahweh, and to keep your set apart, your Moadim, Yahweh. And we're thankful, Yahweh. Yahweh, we fully acknowledge, Yahweh, that we do not have all the answers, Yahweh, that we know in part and we prophesy in part, Yahweh. But we utilize all the information and we keep that greatest commandment, which is to worship you with all our heart, all our mind, all our strength, and all our spirit, Yahweh. We keep that, Yahweh, so that we can show you, Yahweh, that we are trying to be obedient to you to the best of our ability. And we have faith that you are going to bring us these missing pieces in your son Yahshua when he returns and will give us all these answers to the things that we are off on, Yah. So we give you our best works of obedience, Yahweh, to guide us, Yah. And Yah, we ask that you do this not only for us as this assembly, but for all your children across the four corners of the earth that sanctify themselves, Yahweh, that fight daily against the world, Yahweh, that sacrifice friendships, sacrifice relationships, and sacrifice money, Yahweh, while the rest of this world worships their God of this dollar bill, Yahweh. We ask that you strengthen all those people in these times, Yahweh. Keep them protected. Keep them in their hedge. Keep their eyes open so they can see where their hedge is at within these commandments, Yahweh. And we ask that you protect those families, Yahweh, that are split up with worship of paganry on one side and Yah on the other side. And even though one may be a wife and the other one may be a husband, Yahweh, and the husband is supposed to be the covering, Yahweh, we ask that the lawgivers and the law abiders and commandment keepers be the coverings of their household, regardless of whether it's a man or woman, Yahweh. For you understand what we are going through in this nation, Yahweh. And you understand that we will suffer for the mistakes of our forefathers and continue suffering because of our own mistakes, Yahweh. So we're thankful for your mercy. We're thankful for your Son. Yah, all these things we come before you and we thank and pray in the name of your holy, humble, anointed servant, Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen.